When Leslie Stewart wrote this hit song for his West End musical Flora Dora, he lived in West Hampstead, but it was no longer this rural idyll. It had been bricked over and suburbanized. Probably the newly married Mr. and Mrs. Kilpin were this house's first inhabitants, around 1891. If Mr. Legh Mulhall Kilpin, artist, and his wife were to materialize in this sitting room now, they might think that the world had changed remarkably little in 121 years. Ash lies in the fireplace, they knew, and perhaps a similar fender and fireguard to these protected their children as they grew. Our mantelpiece is shamelessly part 19th century, a cluttered domestic altar. Of our recent acquisitions, he might admire this Art Nouveau watering can, bought recently in a local but short-lived antique shop. He was an elegant master of Art Nouveau himself, and most likely painted this girl bird-watcher in the very house in which I now speak. I wonder how quaint the iPhone will look if it survives 121 years. How will we communicate then? He would be amazed that we have gentrified the scullery with an Art Nouveau fireplace instead of the original ugly iron cooking stove. He would delight in the vine that has forced its way into our tiny conservatory. He would be impressed with that extension too, and he would be impressed that Queen Victoria gazed on those very glass containers, and 1,000 or so others when they had oil and burning wicks in them, and decorated the house and gardens for a visit. What was the name of those? He would recognize this pillar box down the road with Queen Victoria's initials, but buses were horse-drawn when he came to live here. He would recognize our fridge magnets, or at least the paintings they boast. Romney's Lady Hamilton, of course, painted less than a mile away in Hampstead in about 1785. Yes, and even Bomberg's, the mud bath. Bomberg lived in West Hampstead a little bit later, but this, can you guess when this mud bath vorticist painting was painted? 1914. Domestic refrigerators were introduced in 1915. Kilpin died in 1919 in Canada, where he had taken his family in 1906, and where he painted himself and some of his children and his wife. At his most modernist, he turned a touch symbolist with Gates of the Infinite in 1910 and Oblivion, painted during World War I. But there is no sign of the influence of Picasso in Kilpin's work. His painting Flanders Fields has a gentle, elegiac, Victorian sentiment about it. This is one of Kilpin's last paintings, painted in the last year of his life, 1919. Perhaps it is a fitting representation of the old world in which he'd lived and worked, and the new world ushered in by World War I, which exploded it.